So I decided to buy Cyberpunk on the Switch 2. I booted it up. I created my character. Spent a lot of time doing that because this game has some pretty detailed character models. It looks great on the Switch 2. And once I finally got my avatar ready to go, I pressed that start button, the cutscene booted up, and baby, it freaking crashed. You can't make this stuff up. And what makes it even worse is that it crashed as soon as the game began. So I didn't even get to save my character. So I had to restart the game and make a whole new character. I think I did a better job the second time around, but it still shouldn't have happened. The good news is that I've been playing a little bit more of it. And thankfully, I have not ran into any other crash since, or really any bug since. Now, this isn't a full review of Cyberpunk or anything, as I've actually never played Cyberpunk outside of a demo that released on the original Xbox One, which that didn't run good at all. And thankfully, I could say that the Switch 2 runs a lot better than that experience. Overall, I wanted to talk about my experience with the performance on Switch 2 and the overall experience I'm having with the game as a newcomer. Let's get the performance part out the way. Minus the crash, Cyberpunk is running pretty well. I'm playing in quality mode. You might be saying, why don't I play in performance mode? Well, I don't have a 120 FPS TV, so I cannot play in quality mode, but I can play in quality mode on the Switch 2 itself, and I'll talk about that later with my portable experience. Quality mode docked is 1080p 30 FPS, and 30 FPS may sound bad, but this is some of the smoothest 30 FPS I've ever experienced. A lot of people like to downplay 30 FPS, and they don't realize the issue is that a lot of 30 FPS games, the reason they don't feel as smooth as they could is because a lot of times they're dipping. I have not experienced any frame rate dips. The only times I ever did were like not in gameplay moments, like when I look in the mirror, you could tell the frame rate kind of dips a little bit to load in the character model, but it happens so quickly it's arguably like a non-issue. But overall, when I'm in combat and a lot of things is going on, a lot of shootouts, a lot of explosives, the game runs pretty well. I don't run into any lag, or at least I'm not experiencing in my controls. And that goes to the controls. Cyberpunk uses motion controls. Now, this is where the Switch 2 version kind of shines for me. There are three ways you can play Cyberpunk. You can either play traditionally with the Joy-Cons and the grip, or if you have a pro controller or a third-party controller, you could just play the game as a regular first-person shooter, and you can even use gyro aiming if you want to. All of that works perfectly fine, but if you want to get a little bit more experimental, you can use the split Joy-Con with the motion gestures. Now, this to me was amazing. It's not perfect, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but the reason I like it so much is because I grew up playing on the Wii, and I always loved the concept of the Wii, and I played plenty of first-person shooters on the Wii, and it's almost like playing an FPS on the Wii. But instead of having actual pointer controls, it's using gyro aiming. Now, let me tell you where this runs into an issue. You could get used to it, and it is fun, but this is where two things might be a problem. One could be your own body, meaning your hands, or it could just be an issue. Both could be an issue, really, of getting used to the gyro when it comes to certain gameplay mechanics. I have bigger hands, so that means I could basically palm and basically crush the entire Joy-Con in my hand. And even though the Joy-Con 2s are bigger than the Joy-Con 1s, what ends up happening is when you're using the gyro to aim with the right Joy-Con 2, you're probably not going to think to put your hand, or your thumb rather, on the analog stick. You still need to use the right analog stick to aim as much as you can, because the gyro is more for precision aiming. It's not for pointing anywhere you want. You'll be moving too slow and you'll get shot up too much. Not only that, but because my hands are so big, it is kind of uncomfortable at times to do things at the same time, to have my thumb. I'm getting used to it a little bit, but to be able to use the thumb on the analog stick while moving it around, there's just not a lot of room on the Joy-Con 2 to be able to do all that. Now, if this was the size of a Wii remote, maybe it will work better. Not maybe, I still use my Wii remote. It would work a lot better. I think that was a perfect size, but obviously that's just not the reality with the Joy-Con 2. Not sure if there will ever be a peripheral that will kind of give it more extension. Maybe some type of silicone plastic holding could do it. But until you find something like that, there's plenty of third-party people making accessories for Switch 2, so maybe something like that will work. But one thing that does surprisingly work, it does make it feel more comfortable, and I didn't even think to use this until I want to use the mouse controls, which I'll get into in a second, is the mouse clips actually add just a slight bit more width and it does make it feel slightly more comfortable. I wish the Joy-Con 2s had the Switch 1 attachable grip parts where it made it more oval shaped. Those just don't exist. I wish they would sell those as well, or those came with the system. I know why they didn't. They want you to use the mouse controls, but they could have gave you both. It's just plastic at the end of the day. But the major issue with the split Joy-Con using gyro is when you do melee combat. You have gestures where you can punch and all that stuff, and unfortunately you can't punch left and right with both Joy-Cons. You can only swing with the right Joy-Con. But the issue comes in is that you still need to use your analog stick, like I said, to be able to control the camera. So the right analog stick, which you use to swing, is what you're using to control the camera. And when you're in melee combat, the characters you fight jump around and bob and weave, and they're pretty fast. And it's like, when you're charging up to do like a heavy attack, you got to almost put the controller above your head and swing down. Yeah, to do that, that's like asking someone to like pat their head and rub their stomach and then whistle and jump on one leg. It's a lot too much going on. Like it's you can probably get used to it. I'm gonna keep playing that way because it is kind of my preferred way to play, just because how novel it is. I'll probably get used to it. Maybe by the time I beat the game and do a full review, I would have changed my mind on this. But as of now, it's kind of just uncomfortable. When I'm shooting and doing regular stuff, it's fine. Melee combat, you can see on the screen, I'm barely making it. It's horrible because I can punch. That's fine. It registers my inputs, but then it's like my brain can't. I'm thinking it's the Wii. Because the right Joy-Con, if this was the Wii, I could move it around. It would control my camera too. I wish it would do that. It just doesn't control the camera. I think gyro should control the camera completely. I'm gonna dig in the settings. Maybe there's something in the settings that lets you do that, but the tutorial for the gyro mentions that the gyro is just to help with aiming. It is not to replace the camera. Use the stick. So I didn't even think to check to see if there's another option, but hopefully there is. If not, maybe they can update it. Now let's go to mouse controls. Now this is where it gets a little interesting. I don't really care to play PC games with mouse and keyboard because that's just not my bag. Because until I find a good setup where I know you can buy a wireless mouse, wireless keyboard and play that way, but it's always just not been that comfortable for me. But somehow, some way, the Joy-Con, it's smaller than your average mouse, it's thinner than your average mouse. I think using a Joy-Con as a mouse is more comfortable than an actual mouse. Now, playing with it on Cyberpunk, it just works. It's nothing to really say. The left Joy-Con would be your keyboard essentially. So you walk with that analog stick and you hold down sights and aim and all that stuff with that. You shoot. It's cool because I talked about this in another video where I said like the Joy-Con 2, it curves its triggers down. And I didn't think about it at the time. The reason the triggers are curved so far down, unlike the first Joy-Cons, is for mouse control, so it's easier to click. So that actually makes sense because in another video where I was complaining about the Joy-Con 2s, I was like, why are the triggers so curved far down? And it's for mouse controls. Now the controls do change around a bit, so that may throw you off. And the reason why is because if you think about it, when you use a Joy-Con as a mouse, it basically simulates like each bumper or trigger. The R button and the ZR work like a left and a right mouse click. So shooting would be with the right mouse, and the left mouse click would be the grenade, which is that translates to R being the right mouse click and ZR being the grenade being the left mouse click. That's something that you'll have to get used to. In the aim down sights, you just use the whole left Joy-Con as you would a normal controller. So that's something like I was accidentally like throwing grenades when I thought I was gonna aim down sights. I'm pretty sure you can remap the buttons, but it's really not that big of a deal. You use the analog stick on the right Joy-Con, kind of like a mouse wheel would be. That's pretty interesting. And overall, it just works. Now, the only thing that sucks about this mode, but it makes sense, is that you cannot go from motion controls with the split Joy-Cons to going to mouse controls. The reason I thought you could, because I could have sworn Nintendo showed that off with Metroid, and that works with Metroid, but it doesn't work in this game. And the reason why is more than likely to do that Metroid Prime 4 was built with it in mind versus Cyberpunk. This is an added on thing for Cyberpunk. Plus in Cyberpunk, there's so much motion going on with the right Joy-Con that for them to be able to tell the difference between you doing a motion gesture versus you trying to put it flat, in order to do the keyboard and mouse. Which the funny thing is, it actually kind of does register it, because in the top left corner, if you try to do that, it'll say this action is not available. So I actually take back what I'm saying. It does know that you're trying to do it, but you can't just go between modes. You have to pause the game, go into the menu, and select that mode. It would be nice if they figured out a way for you to just go between modes and it just changes on the fly. Maybe that's too much to ask for of the game. Maybe the engine can't take it, or maybe they just don't know how to do it. I don't know. But that would be awesome to see in the update, because if they do it that way, imagine going from, I could see myself playing with the split Joy-Con mode, and then when I have to do melee combat, I just put my Joy-Con down on the surface and then use that to fight, because fighting with your hands with the motion, like I already said, is a little bit confusing. So I think that would be cool to add. This is a very cool feature that is exclusive to Switch 2. And speaking about out of the box, I bought the game physically. And for those who are wondering how the build is and how it works outside of that crash, you just buy the game, pop it out the box. It comes with a few goodies, put it in the system. It works. It needs an update. I didn't play it without the update to know how well it works without it, but I went ahead and just downloaded the update, took a few seconds, and bam, you're in the game. It works. Everything is on the cart. I think this is technically the only physical release of Cyberpunk that's everything on its physical media. So Switch 2 also has that as an advantage, because if you buy it on PS5, the Phantom Liberty content is DLC code. It's a DLC code in the box versus being on the disc. This has everything on the cart. Now let's get into portable play. Unfortunately, I don't have a camera to show you my portable experience, but I'll just tell you, it works. It works just as it's advertised. Now, there is a quality mode and performance mode, and I'm gonna tell you this. When you play in performance mode, it lowers the resolution. I think the game on portable is running like around 720p, and then it drops it even lower to run in performance mode. I don't notice, you do notice that the resolution drops if you run in performance mode, but the frame rate increases to 40. It goes from 30 to 40. Let me just tell you something. 30 and 40 FPS in certain games can be a big difference. In this game, I don't think it's that big enough a difference to sacrifice, because it runs so smooth on 30 FPS. I don't even think it's not worth it looking more unclear than what it is, because Cyberpunk on the TV looks great, but you could tell the image overall, the quality of the image is soft, like really soft, to the point that you feel like you're looking at something like you rubbed Vaseline in your eyes, but it's not blurry. It's hard to explain. It's just like the whole game just feels like a fog is going on. It's like foggy weather is everywhere. And it's something that you will pick up on like as soon as you turn it on, but you play it and then it just goes away. Like the visuals look perfectly fine. If this was on PS5, PC, or anything else like that, yes, it would look crisper. But I don't think anyone that's being reasonable will look at this and say, this looks bad, this looks ugly. They won't say it performs bad. They'll just be able to say, hey, this probably looks better somewhere else. For me, as long as the frame rate is smooth, I don't really care about that stuff. This is a dope experience. I recommend so far, from a performance standpoint, in the beginning stages of Cyberpunk, that you get it on Switch 2. Whether you get it now or later, I think it's something that should be supported. Support physical media on Switch 2, and not just support it to support it. This is actually seeming to be a good game and a good port. Peace out, Key Gaming. God bless. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you have Cyberpunk, please, no spoilers. Don't spoil it. I don't want to know anything. But if you're enjoying Cyberpunk on the Switch 2, let me know. If you've enjoyed Cyberpunk on other systems, let me know, because I might double dip if it's that good. I might buy this game again on PS5 just for that experience as well. Peace out, Key Gaming. God bless.
Hello there, Night City! Stanley here with you, and we got another day ahead of us in this city of dreams. Ooh, I love this town. Love it like you might love a mother who popped you out on the steps of an orphanage once and now stops you to ask if you got a smoke for her.